My name is Dr. Emilia Onyema. I am with the law school, the School of Law, but I am the Associate Dean for Learning and Teaching at the Faculty of Law and Social Sciences. My academic role, position, I'm a senior lecturer in international commercial law. Okay. SOAS is great. It has a fantastic buzz. Students love it. And again, I suppose because there are loads of activist, practical things that students can do, there's great learning. More importantly, we teach not like any other university that is Eurocentric. We approach our teaching from our core regional areas from that perspective. So we look at issues globally, and we look at issues from the prism of Africa, Asia, Middle East, the other voices in the global sphere, in addition, of course, to the traditional voices. So that is important, and that students can engage with and actually find quite interesting and different. You can't talk about feedback without talking about assessment first. And so because they both tie into each other. So what we try to do in our faculty, what most of my colleagues do, it goes back to the when you are putting together your course, the course proposal. So in there you have what we call the learning outcomes. So it's clear what you're teaching, what you expect the students to get to learn at the end of the day. And that is what you're assessing students against. So students should be clear what they're expected to learn in any course, and that is what they would be assessed against. Now we then go through the assessment, which should tie back to the learning outcomes. After the assessment is being done, what I do in my course generally is I do not produce a report at the end of the day. I assess my students, and I give individual feedback in the text of what they have of the coursework, for example. And then students are notified. And if anybody wants additional comments, they can always come in, and then we sit down and discuss, and I can clarify if they need any clarifications. I have colleagues who do various things. Some colleagues are quite happy for students. They actually allocate time for students to come in, and then they can get that one-to-one feedback. And maybe the way we need to go, for me, what I think I can add on to that is to produce a general report on what my thinking, how students performed on each question, and post that on Moodle. The advantage of doing that is, one, it helps the shy students because they sort of get feedback, because they wouldn't walk into your office to demand, to ask you for additional feedback. It clarifies to students what my expectation or our expectation, because I teach with another colleague on my course, and so he second marks, and sometimes I would second mark when he first marks. Then we can give students are clear what it was we were expecting them to produce. Now, what should students do with feedback? The ideal thing to do is to read it first. Calm down, read the feedback, and reflect. Feedback is meant to help you reflect on your performance on that particular assignment or essay, and then ask yourself, okay, fair enough, do I understand what I could have done better? I think it's better to start positively and say to yourself, what did I do well? What was fantastic? And at least that helps give you that assurance that you actually understand what is being taught and what is expected of you. But you can't stop there, even if you got a first, because you haven't got 90% or 100%, which is what you're aiming to get. So you then sit back, go through the feedback carefully, patiently, and if you do have questions, then you need to book an appointment to go back to the convener or the tutor, but go with clear questions. Don't just walk in there and say, I'm not happy with my feedback. That is neither here nor there. You need to do your own bit and then go back, and you have clear questions, and colleagues are usually quite happy to answer and give further clarification. Having done that, students, you're expected to build on that learning for your next assignment. The point is you're getting better with each term, with each day, with each year. So if you're not taking those corrections, if you're not making use of the clarifications, if you're not making use of the feedback, you're not going to see any progression in your marks and grades. So what else should students do in addition to getting feedback? The most important thing is go to the learning and teaching development. We have that service. It's a service for students. The idea is to go there whenever they have problems. And then we have colleagues, conveners and tutors can also refer students to LTD. And LTD they have all sorts of services that they offer to students. The key thing is for study skills. And so you can get one-on-one service, and then they can help you with time management, with taking notes, with research skills. They can help with all sorts of things, preparing for exams. But again, the onus is on the student. The student has to be honest with themselves and know, okay, I'm struggling with, taking notes, or I'm struggling with retaining what it is I have read. I have no understanding of how to structure my essay. Whatever the problem is, the student needs to acknowledge that. And our role is to say, well, we can help. And that is what the LTD, that's what they're there for. And so it's for the student. I suppose LTD, they have walk-in services, or email them and say, I'd like to come in. And they would help. And the student can get that help, and it's there. For students being reluctant to visit the LTD, again, because possibly they don't want their colleagues to see them sneaking in there, and the idea that this might show weakness or inadequacy on their part. I think that is a wrong idea. For me, going into LTD shows you are interested in progression. You're interested in improving yourself. You know you can do better. That's what we're here. This is a learning environment. It's a university. You haven't arrived. You're working towards arriving, and it's a question of progression. You have to be able to measure your progression. And what the LTD there is for is to help you become better at note-taking, time management, understanding, summarizing what you have read, whatever. Writing exams. Exam is just one part of the learning. It's just one measurement of what it is you've learned. You can also, you can pick up an article, an academic article, and you read it. It has nothing to do with any of the courses you're taking, but it's something you're really interested in. And you want to summarize it. You can summarize it, you can speak on it, but you can see, okay, fine, this has nothing to do with exams, but I actually do understand this. This is making sense to me. That's what the LTD can help you with. Loads of things students can do, but I'm just going to mention 2 or 3. Apart from peer, fine, they can create peer groups of their own cohort. So possibly they're all in year 1, but then because university, you have to make friends as well. And so they can find people that they relate with that take the same courses, and they can split the reading. They can make out time to meet and discuss the reading and be clear with their various understandings. They can do that, and we encourage that. The other thing they can do is they can find mentors. So for a first-year student, for example, coming into SOAS, they're second-year students who last year were first year and had taken some of these courses and had gone through the process or the experience first years are going through now. So it would be quite helpful to find whether you call them buddies or mentors or friends, whatever, but it's quite helpful to make such contacts and to use those. The other thing is students can always go to office hours. Every single student gets a personal advisor. You have to, it's for the student, you have to go and visit your personal advisor so that they can get to know the student. And any of my colleagues can advise at least on generic study skills and studying, if not on the core, the substantive bit of the course. But at least there's somebody for you to talk with. And it's important to get to know them, because if nothing else, they're going to write your references. And you write better references once you know the person a little bit better. So those, I think I said 2 or 3 I'm going to talk about. Those are 2, 3 things I've talked about. But there's something that is really, really, that excites me, that I particularly like. And that's from the LTD. They have these little postcards with how to get it fast, how to write better. They're fantastic. I used to have them up here in my office, actually, so maybe I've given them all out. But they're great because they're little things that are out there. You have those post-it and it says how to get it fast. I think behind they tell you how you can do that. So you get that, it motivates you. It's there, you can say it, you say it on your shelf, I can actually get it fast. Tied to that is the criteria, marking criteria is available online. So you can just print that out, paste it on your study wall, and each time you're writing your essay, you're looking up at it, you know what the requirements are. It's for you. If you want to get it fast, the criteria is clear. And so you write to that if that's what you want. Please don't aim to pass because you're going to fail. But if you aim to get it fast, worst case scenario, you might get a merit. It's still much, much better than failing, but you have to. Again, if you notice all of this, the initiative has to come from the student. So how should students ensure that they're not stressed out during submission or exams? Most courses are examined both by coursework and exams. So students know that they're going to be examined, or what they've been taught, they're going to have to be examined. So it's nothing strange, or ideally shouldn't come as a surprise to students. My advice or my tip would be just start studying from day one. Party and study. Don't leave everything to a week or 2 before submission deadline because it's not practicable. You're going to be stressed if you do that. When you're stressed, you're not going to produce your best. And you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not putting your best foot forward. So the best way to go about it is do the assignments. When you're given, you'd be given readings, pre-session, pre-seminar readings. Do those readings. Get to grips with what you've been taught. And then once the assignment topic is being given for coursework, then start thinking about it. You need to think about it because you have to structure your answer. You need to think about it. You need to research. You need to then structure it and then write. Now, for coursework, submission is electronic. We submit on Moodle, via Moodle. It's no use waiting till 11:50 because every other person is trying to submit at 11:50 to beat the 11:59 deadline. Remember that this is an equipment. It can break down. You might not have Wi-Fi or internet service or something. So, or you might, what we get, most of the problems we had last year were students who then in their panic uploaded a wrong version. You upload, whatever you upload, you have to live with that. So my advice is avoid all of that and try to make up your mind, I'm going to submit latest a day before. Because up until the deadline, you can submit and put stuff down. So once you submit, ensure you get a receipt. Be sure it is the correct copy you're submitting, that you want to submit. That is what you're going to submit. And get a receipt as evidence that you actually uploaded something. Don't wait a whole month for somebody to say, I can't see anything from you. Just go back and check to be sure that, okay, yes, I have submitted and I have a receipt. If at any point in time you suspect that there's a problem, you need to go immediately to the faculty office and let them know, because the earlier we pick it up, the better. If you wait a whole month, there's really hardly anything we can do to help. Preparing for exams. Again, it's the same thing. Now, I teach law. I say to my students, if you pick up a case, if I give you a decision to read, and you've read that judgment, there's so many other things you'd pick up from that judgment. But one thing that would always stay with you is you can't forget that judgment. You will not forget the facts. You will not forget the decision. You will not forget the reasoning, because you have actually taken out time to read it. You might actually enjoy it so much that you decide to read it twice, which is great. When it comes to exam, you would remember that case. When you're preparing, you would remember. But everything in life is preparation. You have to prepare. You have to prepare. You have to read. You have to prepare. And that is the best advice I can give. In preparing, we have past exam papers on the library website, and quite a number of courses also have folders on Moodle where they have all of that. You need to just sort of practice. That's where your group, your peer group will come in. That's where your mentors will come in, because they can then help you with, okay, fine, this is a fantastic answer. That's not too good. I'm heavy on structure. Personally, again, maybe because of the nature of what I teach, structure for me is really important. And so I insist on my students learning how to structure their answers and essays. In the Faculty of Law and Social Sciences, this year, because we recruited quite a number of students through clearing who have not met our entry tariff, we decided to run next week, which is the first week of teaching. We don't usually have tutorials in the faculty, so we're running with the LTD. The LTD is actually running on our behalf various sessions on study skills, and that is geared, aimed at our first years. The idea with the sessions is to help them understand and bridge the gap between A-levels, high school, and then coming into university, what the differences in learning are, to help them understand what study sessions the LTD maintains and what services the LTD has, and then to just give them general ideas on taking notes, on time management, on summarizing what you have read, on pre-session readings, the generic stuff that all first years need to come to grips with. And then finally pointing them, helping them to know if you have problems or difficulties at any point in time, there are services here in SOAS and what they need to do and how they can access this. And so this is the first year we're going to run it on a faculty-wide basis, and we're hoping that we'll get some useful feedback from that. And if it's helpful to our first years, then we intend to roll it out every year going forward. SOAS is great. It's one of those places for me that students from all over the world should come to, and they would feel really, really comfortable. And we've had 100 years. We're looking forward to the next 100 years. Some of us will not, hopefully, ideally, some of us shouldn't be here in the next 100 years, but they would leave legacies behind, which is great. SOAS is great.